Okay, so those folks that are watching this recording, the students that are in the Google Meet have already um, taken the time to write down these couple problems. They've written down the first four, and then we'll stop and have them write down the second three. So if you are watching this, just pause the video and write these four examples down. Okay, so for us, everybody back here, I'm talking to you guys now. So this is just kind of a review of solving equations. We started with some algebra, but it's really important that we're really solid with this because so much of this gets used in geometry. So the first question is, what order do we complete our operations? So we could talk about this, but don't write this part down. But have you guys heard of PEMDAS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
PEMDAS is what you use if you have just straight up numbers. Like if it's like 3 times 2 plus 7 minus 1 times 6, like that. If it's all numbers, you use PEMDAS. And that's what those stupid little things are on like Facebook, which nobody's on Facebook anymore, but like Instagram. Sometimes when you swipe, it's one of those, like something cool, and then you swipe and you're like, oh, it's a dumb math problem. You would use PEMDAS for those. What you use when you're solving is, so in these equations, basically what's happened is they've taken this number and they're like, ooh, let's pretend we don't know what it is. And then you have to work backwards. So you use SADMEP. The way I think of it is you do the easy stuff first and save the hard for last. Okay, so when we solve this first one, for example, what we're going to do, what I always would suggest, is just draw a line down because that helps students remember to do everything on the left and the right. So we have two operations here. The first one is addition, and then the other one that's kind of hidden is multiplication. So because these two things are touching, that means multiply. So we have multiplication and we have addition. Which of those is like easier? Like what do you learn first in elementary school?
Addition?
Yes. So addition's like the very first thing that you ever learn. So we're going to deal with that first. Well, what's the opposite of addition?
Subtraction?
You got it. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 7. Those gone. And you have 5x equals 58 minus 7 is 51. And now all that we have left is that multiplication. Well, what's the opposite, or it's called the inverse? What's the opposite or inverse of multiplication?
Division.
You got it. So we're going to divide by 5. So you're going to get gone. X equals, and I'm going to put this in here just so you can see. 51 divided by 5 equals 10.2. Do you guys know where to find a calculator on your Chromebook?
I just use my phone.
Okay, that works. And then if we get to the point where when we need sine, cosine, tangent, that stuff, I'll show you guys where to find this calculator, okay? All right, so X is 10.2 for this one. Do you guys have questions about that particular question or that problem?
No.
Okay. So can I let you guys try this next one? So if you drop the line, can you guys just try to see what you come up with for that one? And I'll do it over here too really quick so you can tell me, or I'll tell you the answer when you're done, and then we can see how to do it. So try this alone. When you think you have it, don't say anything yet. Just kind of keep it to yourself for a minute. Let everybody finish. Okay. So did you guys, those of you that had enough time to finish, if you got 42, you are correct. If you didn't, we're still going to go through it and you can see what happened, okay? So in this one, we have two operations. I see subtraction and then I see multiplication right there. Which one is easier, subtraction or multiplication?
Multiplication.
I would argue that also, but if you think of like, this is hard for you guys because you're not teachers, but like think of age, like my nephew, one of the first things he learned was, for sure it was addition, and then subtraction came next. So subtraction is like the easier of the two technically. So I guess that's not the case for everybody. So that's why we do this up here. Subtraction and addition first, division and multiplication second, and then you deal with like exponents and stuff. So we would add 6 to both sides, and we get 9x equals, boom, 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 that's gone, 378. And then what do we do? This means multiply. What's the opposite of multiply?
Division.
Yes, exactly. Divide or division is the opposite. So 378 divided by 9 is 42. X equals 42. You guys cool with that? All right, so the next one, when we drop our line, this one's a little screwy because the numbers got flipped over. So here we have a positive 6. And then this one's a little weird, but what this means is -2 times x. If this messes you up, here's your other option. I'm not saying you guys have to do this. If this messes you up, what you could do is you could take this and swap them. So you'd have -2x plus 6 equals 52. But I don't think that is necessary. Instead, what we'll do is say, let's get rid of the number first, like just the plain old number, which is 6. What's the opposite of a positive 6?
-6.
Yep, so we're going to add in a -6, or we're going to just take it away. So take away 6, gone. Make sure you bring down that negative. This is where you guys are going to get messed up. This is where your answers will come in wrong. Make sure you drop that negative with it. 52 minus 6 is 46. And then what do we do?
Divide -2.
Good. And you get x equals -23. I'm letting you know that tomorrow, I need your help remembering, but tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read through the answers on the homework. I'll just read you the solutions. And then can you guys just tell me what ones you got wrong and we can go through them. Okay, so that you can grade and get immediate feedback. But then you just can get some support where you need. All right, let's do this one. Just shout at me, you guys. What do I do first?
You add 13, and you divide it by 9. Then you get the answer. Then you add the negative at the end.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you do it a little different, which is just fine. So add 13, you get 117. Then he said divide by 9 and add the negative at the end, which is very true. The other way you could do it is divide by -9. So we would go 117 divided by -9 is this. What he was saying is 117 divided by 9 and then add the negative at the end. And that totally works because the -9 changes the sign. So then we end up with x equals -13. You cool? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a minute. I won't wait quite as long. Can you write down these last 3? Those are the last 3 we'll do. Give yourself not a lot of space, but like this one, you're going to need a little more space on. Okay. So write those out, give yourself enough space. And then can a couple people just be like, hey, I'm done whenever you're done? I'm going to be checking emails while I wait for you guys to write that. I just got a couple student emails.
Done.
Done? Is anyone else done?
I'm done.
Okay. All right, I'll get going on this, and if you guys need to write it down like as we're starting the next problem, that's fine. So we'll go to this one next. Now, what's different? Let me start with this. What's different about these three, or like, I guess specifically this one? What's different about that one than the others that we've done?
We got 2 X's.
Yes, that is the biggest difference. So there's 2 X's in this one. There's also 2 numbers. I just noticed that. So what we're going to do is something called combine like terms. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's basically take anything that looks the same and put them together, okay? So here's an analogy that it's not maybe the best because times are changing and there's like evolution in gender identity and stuff like that, but just for like some reference that kind of matches. If I say this name, what do you know about that person?
They're married.
Yes, they're married. And then what else do you know?
113.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're just doing one step ahead. Let me ask this in tandem. What do you know about this person?
They're a Mr.
Yeah, which means it's like a dude, right?
Yeah.
Like if you saw your teacher was Mr. Clark, you're like, oh, okay, I got a guy. And if you saw like Mrs. Smith, you would know it was a girl, right? And that's kind of like antiquated. Now there's like different things that we talk about, but just for ease of reference, I just want to like throw that out there. Oh my gosh, do you guys remember? I know some elementaries don't do this anymore, but do you remember square dancing in PE? And it was like, boys line up on this side, girls line up on that side. Do you guys remember doing that?
Yes, and I hated it.
Me too. Every freaking second of it, I hated it. And it was always like, partner with someone of the opposite gender. And you're like, okay, this is stupid. And then like it sucked. Actually, I really liked it if there were more girls because I would go to the end of the line and be like, oh my gosh, sorry, I don't have a partner. Oh, that's too bad. So anyway, I bring this up because when you look at the name of someone, the prefix, like the Mr. or Mrs., will tell you if it's a boy or if it's a girl, generally. So if we look at this and this, so notice I circled the symbol in front. That's kind of like the Mr. or Mrs. In this case, it tells you whether it's a negative or a positive. So with that 9, there's nothing there. That means it's positive. And then the 4x, that's got a plus sign in front, so that means it's also positive. So that means that's just like a bunch of girls, 13x. Then if we look at this -7 and this -13, those are both negatives. So we just have a bunch of boys. Sorry, boys, you're negative. And then this side ends up being -124. So the reason I bring up the Mr. Mrs. is because you got to look directly in front of the number to see whether it's positive or negative. Okay? Are we okay with this new colorful line of 13x minus 20 equals -124? What questions do you have?
None.
Okay, so then it's going to be the same thing. We add 20, add 20. If you guys use your graphing calculator, you can just go, or a calculator, you can go -124 plus 20. We're at -104. And then we divide by 13, divide by 13 is -8. Did I go too fast?
Did you do 9x plus 4x?
Yep, to
Yeah.
get 13x. All right, can we look at the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. So with this one, we also have multiple x's and y's. So I'm going to look here and here. 15x and then a -3x. What's that? Think of this like line dancing in PE. If there's 15 of one gender and 3 of the other gender,
12x.
that means, yeah, that means there's 12 that are going to be like not included, which is why line dancing like isn't a thing anymore, and because the gender spectrum is varied. So then, what color? This one again? That and that. -4 and 7. Line those up. What's going to happen? Three. So if you lined up the negatives and the positives would have 3 extra people. And then from here, it's the same thing. You drop your line and solve. So you would -3. So you get 12x equals -72. And then our last move is divide by 12. X equals -6. All right. Questions on that one? Okay, what's weird about this next one?
It has parentheses.
It does, and that sucks. Everybody would probably agree. Even math teachers, we don't like it, so we get rid of it first. So what this says is 3 times everything inside that parentheses. So what we do is called distribute. So we're going to give it out to everything inside. What is 3 times 2x? What's 3 times 2?
That's 6x
Yep,
and -12.
you got it. Now this next part, this is where, so 3
But
times,
where do you get to 12?
so 3 times 4 right here That's 12. And it has that minus sign in between. So if there's a number out front touching the parentheses, you have to multiply everything on the inside by that number. So this next part is where a ton of people always get messed up, which is why we try to talk about it. So this has a minus in front, which means it's like a -1. If it's a plus, you can pretty much ignore the parentheses, but the minus screws things up. What you have to do, because there's a minus, is you need to distribute a -1. So -1 times 4 is -4x. What's -1 times -1?
One.
-1.
It ends up being just regular 1. A negative times negative is a positive. So that's why the negative out front screws students up, because they'll catch this one, but they forget this one. So just be really cautious. I try to like circle or bring some real attention to that number. Okay. Whoopsie. And then we get equals -43. Okay, now that looks like those previous ones where we can combine things, right? So we have 6x minus 4x. So these look like these ones. What is 6x minus 4x?
2x.
Yep. So we had 6 positive, 4 negative. There's 2 extra positive. And then what's -12 plus 1? If you're not sure, you can put it in here. -12 plus 1. There's going to be a lot of extra negatives. It's -11 or -11. And then we drop our line. We're going to add 11 to both sides. Add 11. So here we're going to go -43 plus 11. And we get -32. And then divide by 2. So that is the end of the lesson. I'm going to keep recording because if you guys have questions, then whoever is watching can get questions answered. But if people are watching and you get it, then this is it. There's a summary section if you want to put anything down there. But my folks that are with me right now, what questions do you have? I will number these real quick. We'll call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this will be number 7. What do you guys have questions about?
It's the homework the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
And what I'll do tomorrow when we come back to class is I'll read the solutions to the homework, and you can check yourself like, oh, wow, I got all these right. Or like, oh, oops, I got a couple of these wrong. And then we can talk about what issues arose. Do you guys have any questions about this right now?
No.
Oh,
Okay, I'm going to stop recording, and then I'll stick around for other questions.